You've asked, what's important in a search for the right college for my kid if I'm interested in my kid's post-college success? Now, I've already talked about the criteria that I don't think are relevant for in-college learning. I now want to talk about the good criteria, and it may or may not mesh with post-college career opportunities. I think it generally does because what I'm referring to all go to human capabilities, and the overall best thing you could play to, if you could figure it out, is being around other ambitious, productive, and nice humans. Let's talk about number one, graduation rate. I think it's pretty high because meaning important, because if kids are dropping out, they're dissatisfied. Okay, you're not imprisoned, you can leave college. So for one reason or another, kids failing out is a very rare one now. So dropping out because there's a better college out there is a highly important criteria. Also, dropping out because they're in a college and they can't sustain themselves, their family needs are so high that they're going to have to leave. Now, that's not a slight on the kid. The kid is tending to grandma and can't stay in college. But it's a shame if you have a high dropout rate because the friends you make freshman year, a lot of them ain't going to make it to senior year. A lot of them are pressed even along the way, and they're harder to make as tight bonds with them. So that's an important criteria. A second is the high class standing of their applicants, really the matriculants. The kids from high school who have really high GPAs, I think is a pretty good criteria. Now, they're all pretty high, okay? The distinction is not very much, and it's very hard to discern a 3.91 from a 3.89. They're really, really close. But to the extent there is a significant discrepancy, that may be a college that you want to play to the higher GPA. And by the way, don't be afraid to be in a cauldron of very competitive kids. You'll do fine as long as you put your nose to the grindstone. It doesn't mean that they're so brilliant that they'll outpace you. It probably means that they work hard, and if you work hard too, you can hang with kids that have really high school GPAs. Next, SAT score. And that is a sign of either acuity or diligence or both, both of which are a very good thing to have around you as classmates. Now, because of so many test optional universities, average SAT scores are getting skewed because those that are test optional then get to report on a very small segment of their applicants. The ones they accept that chose to give scores, they have really good scores. Otherwise, why would they give over a mediocre score to the college? It's test optional. So in this assessment, I think you can only assess the SAT average for colleges that are not test optional, and that means you got to go back to the 2019 and earlier statistics because 2020 and 2021 admissions were void at almost every college of needing SAT scores. Next criteria, alumni giving. This is a sign of satisfaction, and usually the criteria in U.S. News anyway is not how much, but what percentage of an alumni class give something. Even if it's just $20 a year, it is a check mark. It's a higher percentage with even a $20 donation. So an alumni giving rate that is high, I think, is a good sign of post-college satisfaction. 5 years out, 10 years out, alums look back and say, that was a worthwhile place. I want to help kids who are going to that school over and over and over again. All right, my final one to not necessarily applaud, it's financial resources. I'm ambivalent because if a college is well endowed, it does give things that are nice. I don't think they're all that important, okay? no college is having too few chemicals to run a laboratory experiment. So they're all staffed decently for learning. I mean, you don't need any resources to have a liberal arts class. Okay. Science is a little bit more. Where do the extra dollars go to? Emporiums of food in the student cafeterias, big gyms that have all kinds of equipment, all kinds of hours, 24/7 possibly, trainers to help you. They could also go towards putting kids in single room dorms instead of pairing them up. I'm not sure that any of those is very important. In fact, the pair up, at least as a freshman, I think is a good thing. All right? You got to get to know how to deal with your weird roommate. And everyone's weird in some way. So it's not a bad experience if you're forced into a double or even a triple. You'll get to the one-on-one single if you want to. The schools that give you singles from right out of the gate as freshmen, I think might be doing you a bit of a disservice. So where is financial resources very important? It's if your own family needs the money in a lower tuition. Okay, then the college that has that high endowment is able to bring down your tuition rate, keep you there. That might mean bring you there in the first place because you would go to a state university if they said no. It might mean if your family had a hardship and in junior year you suddenly couldn't afford the tuition that they were paying before, can this college say, we can handle this? You can go for 1/3 tuition. So for the pressed family, the financial resources is again a big idea. I will get to my final criterion, my criteria that aren't part of U.S. News, next.